All right, now joining the show, we've got on SUNY Cortland defensive line coach, Rich Curran. Coach, how are you?
Good, Andrew. How's everything going, man?
I'm doing good. Happy to get you on. So like we were talking before, you're getting ready for the season. I'm psyched to get back on the field. I know you're probably excited to be back on the sidelines coaching.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously at my previous stop, unfortunately got there right as COVID was hitting. So put in a lot of work and unfortunately had to leave. But I'm excited to hit the gridiron again and have a lot of success this fall. So it's definitely going to be exciting.
Definitely. So you go to Stonehill at the end of the season, after the end of my freshman year at Mass Maritime. You go to Stonehill, and then how did that kind of work out with you for you? Because you recruited probably your own guys, and now you're not really able to see them play or work with them. So how does that kind of all worked out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the one downside of college coaching is
Yeah.
especially as a young guy like myself, you're always trying to level up and keep moving with your career in the best direction possible.
Hmm.
Even had it at Mass Maritime, as the recruiting coordinator. So, pretty much overseeing the whole class and getting guys in and making those relationships and connections. It's tough to kind of move on after you built that and actually had a kid commit his almost future
Yeah.
to coming over to that school. So it is a tough situation, and especially for even the guys building relationships. But obviously, being on your podcast and being able to talk to you,
Yeah.
it just shows you that relationship still can go further than just that 1 or 2 years that you guys spoke and building that relationship to go to the college or coaching them for 1 year. So it is a tough thing to say goodbye, and it's never the right time. It's never going to be the right time. But I just talked to one of my former players at Stonehill today, and just checking up on him and seeing how he's doing. And it's a relationship that lasts forever. And as a young coach and as a coach in the just being a guy in the profession, just letting guys know that you're always there for them and making sure you can help them in whatever manner possible, or making
Mhm.
sure that that relationship still keeps going. So, like we were talking about some of those guys on the D line at Mass Maritime, I
Yeah.
still got all their numbers saved in my phone, and hopefully they do as well with mine. And it's always good to reach out and still keep those connections. Especially with all this fifth year stuff going on, you never know
Yeah.
who's going to need a home in a couple of years. So,
Definitely.
but yeah, to be honest, it's never a good time. But it's always try to keep those relationships open and keep them moving.
Like we were talking before, I mean, it's crazy. The D line you had when I played, you had Kyle Johnston who graduated. He's already him and Eric are already they're in the workforce. You got Colin McCabe just graduated. He's working out on the Great Lakes now, and then Jerry Mackin is a senior this year, and then Mac Brown and Hugh, they're both going to be juniors with me. So I mean, it is crazy, especially COVID definitely made it feel like it definitely sped everything up, but like seeing this now is it must be pretty crazy for you to see those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I still keep in touch with Coach Farazani, I saw Coach Cam over the summer, and just checking up on you guys and some of the underclassmen. And then they're talking about, like you said, Jerry Mack being a senior. I was like, oh my God, I felt like last week he was just a freshman. And
Yeah.
hearing those guys' names and seeing how they've grown and developed, and it really is insane. And I guess that's been one crazy thing about COVID. One of the crazy things about COVID is like you said, everything being sped up. And you know unfortunately, Mass Maritime's that kind of place where it is tough to kind of have that fifth year opportunity,
Right.
and be able to do that thing, because it's at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel is a nice big salary that you can take advantage of. So
Yeah.
I've been blessed with great players and great, and more importantly, great people at all of my stops thus far. And I could go on and on about those great guys and the Kyle Johnstons and the Eric Marchants of the world. And they're all great guys, and they're all doing great things in their jobs now. Post playing. And even some of my guys at Stonehill that I just coached up, had a couple guys that wound up not taking the fifth year option and wound up, one's in the police academy, one has a job back in New York, working in finance and business. So, guys have chosen to go on to, bigger and better things off the field. And I completely get that. And but I've been those guys, it was a great group of guys to start my career off with, and have been blessed with even better, with good guys, and moving forward as well. It's a great thing. It really is a great thing. But those guys, yeah, it's hearing those names brings back a lot of good memories.
So so you went to Stonehill for the year COVID happens. What was the transition for you to SUNY Cortland? Like, how did that kind of all transpire for you to go from coaching at Stonehill Division II to going back to Division III to coach at Cortland in New York too?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say is the coaching world. Once you get into it, you realize how small it is, and really not knowing anybody on the Cortland staff, or so I thought.
Yeah.
I went up for the interview, and start talking with the staff there, and how they know my college staff, and they know guys that I've coached with, and you start seeing this, how the spider web all connects, and it was a great opportunity to move closer to home, and other benefits as well, and it's going to be a great experience, kind of similar probably to my experience at Mass Maritime. I'm still going to be recruiting my home state of New Jersey, so that's always a plus. Knowing some the old stomping grounds there, and like we talked about, recruiting now recruiting a new section for Cortland in New England, and helping them get some guys from there, which is what I've been immersed in that life for a couple of years now, and recruiting certain areas and knowing where certain players are at. So it's exciting to bring a new perspective to the table. But yeah, definitely could be a little bit different, but I feel that the Cortland staff definitely tries to operate as much as possible as a scholarship level program, and we have a lot of tradition and success. So I'm looking forward to bringing my spin and my take on things, that I've picked up over the past couple of years at the Division II and Division III level, and bring my own spin to the table, and bring my own take, and be able to make an impact. So I'm excited for the new adventure, and the opportunity there, and it was a great time at Stonehill, and made great connections and worked with great people, and always will be looking at those guys, and hoping the most success for them, like as I do with Mass Maritime. And but yeah, unfortunately, there's just times in your career where you just gotta take an opportunity when it was presented to you, and I got offered. It was a quick process, and applied for the job in early May, went for the interview about the third week of May, and heard back by the first week of June, right around there. And it moved pretty quick, and I've been grinding with them the whole summer. So I'm excited for the fall now coming around.
Now, when you apply for a coaching job, like Division I, it seems like everybody has their guides. Like the big coordinator comes into a Division I school. Division III, is it like an actual job application you're filling out, and like kind of like a recruiting questionnaire that kids fill out? Is it like that also that gets submitted to the school, or do you go through an actual coach and kind of do like pre-questions before an interview?
It could go a whole bunch of ways. I've been, I was looking down at my, I kept a list of all the jobs that I had put my name into a hat for. Obviously, like we said, being a younger coach, you gotta be ready to move on up, or take the best opportunity possible, and always looking out for stuff. And I think I put out roughly 20, just putting my resume out there 20 20 times, 20 different jobs. And I maybe heard back from a handful of them. So it's really, it was a competitive process, and obviously just some stuff that I didn't know people at, and I just threw my name in the hat. Like you said, at some bigger schools where they probably already had a guy, and they were just, kind of posting to post the job because they had to. Footballscoop.com is a great resource for coaches, where, a lot of those postings are pretty true to their word, not just like Indeed or something like that. So it's, the process, I think at the lower levels is probably a little bit more, you probably have a better chance, putting in that application. A lot of the times it's just sending in your resume and references to the head coach or a coach on staff, and they handle it. Other schools that are a little bit more prestigious, they really work with hand in hand with HR, to pick a candidate. But a lot of times, man, like a lot of other industries, it's about who you know or who knows you and who can vouch for you. And, there, I would say it might be a little bit less at the lower levels, but it's still definitely a part of, of the process. And,
Yep.
you know, especially with how COVID turned everything around, uh, some programs hire you, before that you actually fill out the HR paperwork or fill out the job application form and stuff like that. So, it kind of goes case by case, depending
Yeah.
on the school and the program and the level. So everyone's kind of different, but it's all about still getting having an impressive resume, having references to back you up. And, it definitely doesn't hurt to have a connection on staff already with somebody, and knowing somebody that can vouch for your skills and your abilities as a coach, as a recruiter, being the whole package. So, it's definitely a fun process to go through. And, even all my interviews at all the different stops I've been at have all been different in their own way. And I've definitely grown each time I've gone to an interview, added on and try to be more impressive than the last interview. And what can I do better to make myself a better candidate for each position. So it's a fun process, and you get better as with anything else. The more practice you have, the more times you do it, the better you'll get. So hopefully I think this past interview with SUNY Cortland was probably my best one.
Okay.
I think out of the 3 I've had so far.
That's awesome. So when doing the show, I love talking to athletes, and pretty much I like hearing recruiting stories, more recruiting horror stories. And so now you're recruiting guys, and this isn't, I'm not turning this back on you. I'm saying you did
Yeah.
great in recruiting. But when you were getting recruited,
Yep.
I know you're coaching now, so you probably don't want to name schools or names, but did you have any recruiting horror stories with that may, or not horror stories, but where a coach just wouldn't even give you the time of day, like up on a visit or something like that?
Um, being a barely 6 foot defensive end, the probably
Yeah.
weighed about 215 in high school, because I also played lacrosse.
Okay.
I probably wasn't the most sought after recruit.
Yeah.
I went around just like a lot of other guys I see today. Trying to shoot for that Division I dream, which, hey, listen, it's all well and good, but at the end of the day, you have to be realistic with
Right.
yourself about where you want to go. And, there's great opportunities everywhere, which, I think is more apparent today now than ever. But I was trying to, went to a private Catholic high school, everyone is getting all these big, I went to school with a lot of great football players, kids that went to Notre Dame, kids that went to Rutgers, big time Division I schools. So, shooting for that FCS level, go and talk to some schools in the NEC and stuff like that. Scholarship money runs out. I'm not the top guy, stuff like that. But I got to say, throughout the process, most of the guys were pretty cordial with me and shot me straight, which I appreciated. And that's how I like to recruit now, is trying to be as truthful and as shooting straight as possible. I think there was probably one time I went on a visit,
Okay.
and the school, some of the players were just a little too rambunctious for me.
Okay.
And, some of the guys that they had brought in last week, they were telling me some horror stories about like other recruits they brought up and stuff like that. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know if this is the place for me. And,
Right.
obviously it's a matchmaking game at the end of the day. So, finding the right match, they might've thought I was the right match for them. And I didn't think so. So, I was very grateful to get recruited and get a scholarship to St. Anselm College up in New Hampshire. So that was a blessing, and I fit right in with the guys up there and had a blast, and they did things very well. So I was happy to be a part of their program and make that decision. But yeah, I didn't really go on too many visits. I think I only took three or four overnights. So it was a short process, but I probably, I wouldn't call them horror stories, but
Yeah.
I think I could kind of give you, if, some stuff that I see nowadays as being a coach on the other side of the coin, where I would like, I try to coach kids up and be like, hey, listen, like this is, this would be you see some guys, hey, this would be a better way to do things and stuff like that, and try to
Right.
help them out and help them out in that manner, and make sure athletes don't have recruiting horror stories, or at
Yeah.
least with me. So yeah, it's been a long time, but it was I gotta say, I don't know if I really have too many besides that really one that kind of sticks out. Everybody else was pretty good with the way they went about things, which I like, and now how I try to coach.
That one doesn't seem too bad. Like we've had a couple Division I guys come on, and they're like, I know one of the basketball players, Brody Limerick, that was on. He goes, VMI gives me an offer. They tell me don't tweet out the offer, but we also need to know if you're going to commit within like the next 2 or 3 days. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'd never visited the school. I had never been down there. I had literally just started talking to the coaches. So he's like, I can't give you this offer, or I can't give you the commitment now. They just pulled the offer right off the table. So
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, being in the profession, you hear some crazy stories, and you hear rumors, or like when I was at Stonehill, you talk to kids, and you start talking about money like that, and comparing packages to rivals or other schools that may have offered, and you hear some stories, maybe similar to those lines where it starts to get to that horror stories. But I don't think I could personally say it's happened to me, but hearing some other recruit stories, or, even stuff that's happened at the high school, kids with the high school level, and just not knowing, and coaching and stuff. It's a really crazy game, especially to be an 18 year old kid, and trying to make a life decision. And you can't play around with that stuff. And I get when it gets to the Division I level, it's more of a business than ever. But it's tough to, I couldn't picture holding a kid's life in my hands, and then, you know, ripping the rug right out under them, and when I was coaching at the high school level, we had a kid committed to Virginia,
okay.
and, a couple weeks before signing day, same thing, rug got ripped underneath from him. They wanted him to go to prep school, and he was like, no, I don't want to do that. And, I think he if I remember correctly, he wound up just said, screw it, I'm going to go. And he wound up going to the Ivy League, and just was like, I'm just going to go and do my thing and get ready. Wound up going to Princeton, and probably one of the best decisions a kid ever made. Like, hey, stick to what and if you want to do it now, do your thing. And I think he made a great decision. At the end of the day, you can't go wrong with the Ivy League. So,
No, not at all.
but you hear stuff like that all the time. I feel like all the time, and now being on the other end of it, you see it's a two-edged sword. Kids are trying to rack up 30 offers, and you don't know if they're really just, they truly love football, or they just love the attention and the offers,
Yeah.
or the other edge where, the coach is blowing smoke up the kids, blowing smoke up the kid for there. And, and he says one thing, and then next week, a kid commits, and, oh, that's not there anymore. So, yeah, it is a crazy world. And, that's why I try to be the guy that, and try to make things as clear as possible for guys, and lay it all out, and go the extra mile. And, I would hope if you talk to some of those freshman guys that are a year behind you, going to be sophomores, that I recruited, I would hope they say, like, hey, Coach Curran was, he did the right thing. Like, he helped me get it here. That's, and they would say nice things about me versus, not very nice things. But, it's just a crazy world we live in today. And especially, with some of the NIL stuff going on,
Right.
I'm sure it's going to get even crazier.
Well, the big thing now is the kid from Texas, Quinn Ewers. He's talking about just leaving, not even taking up his senior year of high school, because he has the credits, and just going to Ohio State. I mean, he wouldn't be doing that if the NIL bill wasn't in place right now. He sees that he could cash in really quick on becoming that guy that makes the jump that you probably never will see. So
Exactly.
it is pretty crazy how much the money is going to dictate the recruiting now.
Yeah. I mean, you see with, obviously, Alabama's Alabama. I know Nick Saban's using that as a great recruiting tool. No matter what, I feel like he does things the right, pretty. He sets the standard. He does things, from what it seems like the right way.
Yeah.
And he makes sure those guys are on a good path. And then you see stuff like, Texas and Oklahoma trying to make that jump to the SEC now. Hey, listen, Longhorn Network, are they going to get some money from that? How's that going to work? And, that could be a big recruiting tool for them, but realistically, like, are they just luring you in with the money so that way they could make the jump to the SEC and be more competitive? I don't know. It's a crazy jump going on, and crazy things are happening. And, just take a step back, one day at a time, see how it all plays out, and, how the NCAA is going to kind of move forward with this, and, kind of go from there. But honestly, great opportunity for players, and to take advantage, and be able to do some really good things and use their platform. So, I'm seeing great things at the Division I level, and, some guys back at home at Rutgers doing some really nice things, all throughout college sports, you see guys doing a lot of good stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch over the next couple of years.
Yeah. Now, as a college coach, what are your whole thoughts on, like, when you see the kids that show up to, like, an Oklahoma or an Oregon for a recruiting visit, and they pull out the throne, they pull out a Rolls Royce on the field, and you see all that type of stuff, and that's kind of their way of, and like you kind of mentioned it with Alabama. I mean, you don't really see a lot of that at Alabama on the visits. Like, granted, they get the kids in the uniforms, but every Division I school does that. But they're not pulling cars out onto the field and breaking out like thrones for the kids to take pictures in. So what's your thought there?
I I like to roll out a red carpet in some manner to make a kid, to make a guy feel special, and
Yeah.
to make them feel like, hey, listen, you're to make it feel like everyone's the number one recruit. That's what I did at Mass Maritime, and try to make sure, especially for those individual visits, make sure everyone feels like they're at home and they're comfortable. I think when it gets to that level, it's just a little bit gaudy. And are you really there to play football? Are you there to take Instagram pictures and pretend to be a football player? Hey, listen, got to get in the uniform, got to see the locker room, that old look good, feel good, play good thing. I get that, all that stuff, but I think there's a fine line where you kind of cross that, and it's like, do you really need to do that? Or is that really part of the day to day at the school? Or are you just kind of, just splurging on the money there, and try to one up, your conference rival. So, I think at some point, gets a little out of control, but, hey, listen, sometimes I think rolling out the red carpet and making that guy feel, like he's on top of the world. He's the number one recruit, and doing that kind of nice things. I think that is a great way to go about it. But over the top, like, you don't need a Rolls Royce. Like, is that really going to make the difference? Like, I don't think so. So, I think there's a line there that some people are probably crossing, but,
Definitely.
I'm kind of, I wouldn't say old school, but like, I'm kind of like, hey, listen, I'll show you the facilities. We got great facilities, uniforms, all that stuff. Let's take a picture. Let's put it on, put it on social media. It spreads the word, and the brand of the program. And, it's just really good, get that out there and stuff like that. But, definitely a line there. Definitely a line.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but the best was when go to the football offices during the season, and I'd see you or Coach Rainey with the shirt and tie on, because you knew that was recruiting visit day. Like, kids were coming up, and it was just awesome to see all you guys throw that on. And then once the visit was over, Rainey would get back in. He's throwing the tie off and getting right back into his sweatsuit. So that was definitely awesome to see. But
yeah, it was a beautiful thing having the locker room right downstairs, and having our full wardrobe there. So that was always a lot of fun. And but again, that's the process of, like, hey, listen, like, we're obviously at Mass Maritime, you guys are all in uniform anyway. So it was always like being more dressed up and looking professional. Obviously the shirt and tie, a little bit extra, like you said. But those days I loved, especially as recruiting coordinator, because it's like, it's my day to show off our players, our facilities, and our school. And, especially after the season we had in 2019, where we had we had both, both rivalry trophies. We had all that good stuff. We had new uniforms. We had, all these nice little upgrades. It was like, how could you not be excited to show this off to potential recruits,
It's awesome.
and put their name up on the big screen board up in front. And,
Yep.
Joe Malkin, our SID, like he was all in for it. So like, that was great to have him and just the whole athletic department support and be like, hey, can bring ideas to the table to Coach Cam and these guys and be like, hey, do you think we could do this? And they're like, dude, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's go for it. And that's what I loved about that place too, is being able to put my own spin on it and seeing it be successful. And, hopefully them still running with some of those ideas and the way we set things up when I was there. And it was a blast. It really was, making it very personal and bringing them into the little conference room upstairs and showing them the highlight film and the personal tour, having their jersey and name up in a locker. It's those little things that, I don't think are over the top, but like we said, those are the little icing on the cake right there. But again, something that I think helps a lot was, having lunch in the dining hall, having guys that are in certain majors come down and sit and talk with a recruit. Those were the important things there. But we had some good times. Coach Rainey knew everything. Coach Farzani gave in some great input. Coach Laz was there to help me out if I misstep, but we had that thing down to a science. It was great.
So, like you said, coming out of high school, you're the 6-foot, 215-pound D end. You picked to play at St. A's, and then your senior year rolls around. You're voted captain. How did that transformation kind of all come about for you, where you went from being a smaller edge rusher to now you're a captain of a football team and a 4-year letter winner?
Yeah, so it was a crazy experience, and back when I first got to St. A's, we didn't have many guys from New Jersey, and just talked to a coach a couple weeks back at a camp, and he said they're up to maybe 15 to 20 guys from Jersey on the roster, which is great to see, the home state represented. And it was I had to work my tail off for everything. Being I'm going to say an undersized Division II defensive lineman. I worked my tail off my senior season and in the off season getting ready for college, and put on 20 pounds and went in at 235. And, next thing you know, every year I keep getting bigger, stronger, faster, and dedicating my whole summer and my whole life to football. And that's how, that's why I got into coaching, was to continue helping guys progress in their game. But also because I didn't want to leave the game. Obviously I can't play anymore, but I could coach it and make sure that, my guys are better than I was when I got to that level. But I think the thing that got me there was, guys saw me, and they saw me working out on the weekends in the gym by myself. They saw that I was working extra, or that I would come back and I'd be ready to go for the season. Like there was no questions asked if I was working my tail off or not. And I knew the playbook in and out. I knew everything. Coaching up the young guys. If you would talk to my D-line coach from college, he would tell you by the time I graduated, I had 4 years of coaching experience already under my belt, because I had to coach up everybody on the D-line. And that's how he coached the unit, was everybody coached each other. Okay. So, having that leadership and, ability to step up and lead a program was, it was definitely a big step, but it was a challenge that I wanted to accept. And I think the younger guys in the room saw that, and taking the time out of my day, or bringing guys along with me. They say you're either, pulling against everybody, or, or you're going with the crowd. So, I was bringing guys with me. I was always pulling guys in the right direction, and, guys in the weight room that didn't have their numbers that they wanted. All right, well, let's go to the weight room. Come with me on the weight room on Saturday, and we'll get an extra lift in. You need to get extra lift. All right. Next time Max's came around, that kid's bench was up 20 pounds. All right, dude. Well, what'd you think? We were working our tails off, bringing those guys with me. And, and just even in the room, just hearing guys, like seeing guys do pass rush moves. Oh, dude, where'd you learn that? I like that move. And they're like, oh, Richie, I saw it from you, man. Like I saw you do that last week. I was like,
Yeah.
oh crap. Like, guys are always watching, and, we had a great unit, and like I said, coaching each other up. And um, it was just a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work, and gaining the respect of my peers. And, it was a great ride. But I dedicated basically my life to football for how many years, because I was always that skinny kid that could never put on weight, and played lacrosse and stuff like that. So I was on the thinner side. And then college came around, and I just bulked up and put in the extra time and the work needed. And everybody around me saw that, and
Kind of
decided to,
gravitated to that.
yeah, gravitate to that. And decided to bless me with that honor. And I still see guys today, and we have good laughs and good chats about the times we had. And it was a great honor to have had. And especially with a new staff coming in my senior year, it was important to try and help keep those guys together and move us in the right direction. So taking that step up when guys are looking down and wondering what's going to happen, and trying to lift them up and keep them together. So it was a crazy process now that I look back on it, and it's a tough thing to do, but it was a great challenge and a great opportunity to lead a great group of young men back then. So and definitely has helped me now in my coaching career be a leader and control the room. So it was a good step in the right direction.
Now, when you were playing, like, let's say senior year of college, what was your style on the field? Like, what was your gear? Like, did you go with a towel, a visor? Did you go wrist tape, gloves? Like, what were you rocking with? Or was it a game by game basis?
For the most part, I had I would go my basic Nike mid calf socks.
Okay.
My senior year, I got my nice white custom cleats because we had all white uniforms.
That's
So
awesome.
I was all whited out. I had these white and navy blue Nike Vapor gloves. They were receiver gloves, but I like those better than the D-line gloves because I didn't like the padding on them.
Oh,
I couldn't
they're
get
way
my
better. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get my hands on a guy nice the way I wanted to. So, but those would get beat up real good by the end of the season.
Mhm.
Um, I started by the time I think I was a junior, I was doing the whole like almost like a boxing glove tape up
Yeah, right around the knuckles.
around around the knuckles, through the thumb, around the wrist. Um, I was doing that up with my gloves, and then I always wore one arm sleeve. That
Okay.
was that was my thing. I always wore one arm sleeve
No,
on my right.
was it like the shooter sleeve, like the NBA, like the that you'll see, or was it a shorter, like a
It
kind of
was
like
the
a
yeah, it
football
was the
sleeve?
short one, just for the forearm. So I wore
Okay.
one white one of that, um, and then that was it. And no visor or nothing. I had the Nike. What was it? So that was a Nike arm sleeve, and then I had just my Rydell Speed, man, and just go and get after. We always had some great helmets and
Mhm.
great uniforms and stuff like that. Like I said, the all white. We had the Oregon Ducks like feathers look it was a white helmet with blue feathers. That was a really nice look, and we had some other ones too, but that was the one I loved the most. And but yeah, that's what I usually rocked every game. That was my go-to.
That's pretty nice. I like the that Oregon Duck. That must have been pretty sick to have on the helmets.
Yeah, oh, I love the feather. I think we had a stripe and then the feathers on the sides.
Awesome.
Especially with the white and blue, it was a great look. And yeah, the only one bad thing that I remember was I was still a bigger guy,
Mhm.
but I had wound up getting number 99, and it was like a double triple XL maybe. So
Oh,
it was always a little bit loose on me, but I made the most of it. I rocked it as best I could and had as much swag as possible. But
yeah.
that was it was a fun time. Had a little bit of swag on me. I could have probably used a visor, but I
It's
refrained.
tough to have swag when your jersey is just like a dress on you. Like because not even like in the body, it's in the arms when it's not
Yeah.
tight to the arms. It's just huge. Like
I
it's
was yeah, it was good because it was tight up top. I just in the
okay.
midsection. So I would sometimes I would have I actually had a back plate too. So I
Oh,
would
okay.
have the I would have the I would have the athletic trainers roll it up against my back plate and then try to like tape it around it or something to try and so it almost come out like a belly shirt,
Yeah.
nice little crop top. And then I used to have refs come up to me and be like, "You can't wear your jersey like that. You gotta roll it down." So it was a constant battle. Some weeks, depending on what kind of the refs were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a little bit of swag. I tried a little bit, but being a 6 foot, 260 something pound, defensive lineman, it's a little bit tough, but I did my
Yeah.
best.
So you also interned with the Dolphins in 2017. What was that whole experience like? Just because you don't really people intern with law firms and at accountants and stuff like that. You intern with an NFL team. What was that whole experience like, and kind of how did you get to intern there?
It was that was one of the best experiences I've ever had, and had a blast that one summer. Would have probably tried to stay longer if I wasn't enrolled in grad school already.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just just applied, and they had a big pool, I'm sure, of applicants, and they chose about 20 to 25 people to do it, and hadn't most of the people were from Florida. It was me. I know a kid who was from New York, and I think there was a girl that wound up coming from like Georgia or South Carolina or something, a little bit further away.
Mhm.
But a kid from Ohio. So we had a couple people from far away, um, and interviewed, had a good interview. They offered me the position, and like, do you think you can make it work? Because they didn't really apply, give out housing or supply housing or anything like that. So I was like, all right, well, you got to find your own housing, you got to get your way down here. So there was some stuff there, but obviously were paying me, so that was kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just got down there and hit the ground running. We had our first meeting, and we ran. I started off in youth programs, the youth programs department. So that was basically running 7-on-7 tournaments,
Mhm.
the youth camps at their practice facility, doing little odds and ends around the stadium and the practice facility, cleaning things up, getting ready for events, community outreach. Like when I was there, they found a storage unit, 10 feet, I think it was like 10 feet by 10 feet,
Yeah.
filled to the brim with Nike cleats that have never been worn, all in boxes, like boxed up. And they brought them to the stadium, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to get ready for like a big event. They usually do like a donation, like out to the local high school programs, especially, some of those big boys down in Florida, it's hard to find size 15 cleats. So,
Right.
it would give away some of those cleats to young kids in the area that didn't have them. So they would do stuff like that. And, helping out with like stuff like that. And you just sit there in amazement, like, holy cow, like they have all this money just sitting here and in this storage unit and completely forgot about it. But that was really good. That was, the first half of my experience down there. Also, I remember we did like a big high school media day. So got to run that in the stadium with all the high schools down in the area, see different prospects and stuff like that. So we had a blast, in that regard. And then I transitioned over to the football operations department. And then we started getting ready for training camp. So they did like, they used to call them activations, but they were like little, like almost like carnival type of like games and stations to make training camp more fun for the fans. And we would set that up in the morning. We'd have to get there about like 5 a.m. Set that up. Training camp would start at like 8 o'clock. Help people to their seats, just kind of patrol the area for the whole day. And then at the end of training camp, they would do like a little scrimmage between like youth programs. So we would stay and do like chain gang or something like that. And they,
Gotcha.
at the practice facility, but we'd help clean everything up, get places ready for that. Which was a lot of fun. Got to interact with some players and coaches and stuff like that. And which was a great time. And then the last part of it was helping out with preseason games. So we would, host youth organizations for for different preseason games, bring them out on the field, have them stand out there for the national anthem, have them, they would go up to a big suite and enjoy the game, get snacks, food. And we basically kind of like run the behind the scenes show for that and have players come over and talk with the kids and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. So I got to be out on the field for that. And kind of be able to, like I said, interact with players, interact with the coaches, have these kids out on the field for an NFL game. It was a great experience. Yeah. And made a lot of connections. Another guy that I worked with is now coaching at the collegiate level. A lot of people are still in NFL organizations. One of the young ladies I was working with, she's now with the Carolina Panthers. So everyone's off doing their own thing. One guy stayed on with the Dolphins and he's with the field crew. So he does all the field painting between the Dolphins and the Miami Hurricanes college team games. So he does all that field maintenance. So everybody kind of branched off to do a lot of great things, but it was a great experience to kind of learn the ins and outs of a professional organization and kind of help me understand what I was getting into with college sports and kind of how the collegiate programs run in collegiate athletic departments, because it is a crazy business, but it was a lot of fun. It was a good experience to have coming out of college and being out on my own in Florida for a bit and kind of do my thing. But it was a really fun time.
Now so you're a New Jersey guy, Jets or Giants. So are you a Jets or Giants fan?
I hate answering this question because, I'd rather, to be honest, I'd rather watch college football, and it just stinks. It just stinks because I'm now a college coach, so I don't watch not a lot of games unless it's action on a Tuesday night.
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. It's great to watch, but if I had to pick a team, I'd probably go. It stinks to say, but I'd probably go with the Jets. Okay. Now that I'm up in Cortland, I'm closer to Buffalo, so maybe I could join Bill's Mafia.
I mean, that would work out pretty good for you right there. It seems like
they not too bad. While I was hiding out in New England, I would say Patriots and just hop on there. But now I'm up in upstate New York, so it's that Buffalo area. I might have to be part of Bill's Mafia now. Never know. If I settle down up there, it could be a possible team to keep rooting for. They're doing pretty well. They got some bright future ahead of them.
Now, so do you have a college team, like a Division I team that you follow, or is it just any college football you can get at any time?
I would say when I was a little kid, there was a player in my area that we used to watch play in high school, and he was a great athlete. Wound up going to play safety at the University of Florida. So that would probably be one team that I would say I always kind of keep an eye on. I always enjoy watching them play. I would love to see, I know it's always floating around social media, of a 30 for 30 of that Tim Tebow team and awesome. With Hernandez and the Pouncey brothers, so I would be a big fan of that watch. But like that was a team I always watched. And then back when the Big East was still a thing, always went and watched some Rutgers games, but watching them play Virginia Tech was always a great one, with Mike Vick and those guys. Watching them, Miami Hurricanes were in there. So the U would come up to and play Rutgers and stuff like that. So I kind of missed that conference a little bit, but
that conference is great.
Some of those games were fun to watch. And still kind of keep an eye on some of those colleges. Notre Dame is a big one I like to watch. I've one of the players I was fortunate to know and coach at the high school level. He's now a player there. He's playing tight end. One of my former teammates went there, so that's another one I always like to root for. And going to a private Irish Catholic kind of school, it's kind of in the cards there. So, that's another school I always like to watch and kind of root for.
What's crazy going back to that Florida team is like the four big ones everybody talks about are Tebow, the Pouncey brothers, and Hernandez. But you had Riley Cooper on that team who pretty much got pushed out of the league for his incident. You've got Cam Newton, who was a backup on that team.
Yep.
Urban Meyer was the coach. You had Percy Harvin at receiver. And then even on campus, you had Joakim Noah and Al Horford run the basketball team.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan Lochte was on the swim team there. So
Just loaded with athletes.
I would have loved to have been just a fly on the wall on that campus at that time. It would have been unreal.
Yeah, I could only imagine. And obviously Urban Meyer's, he's had a storied career, and
Yep.
it'll be interesting to see how he transitions to the NFL now and bringing his boy Tebow with him. And I hope Tebow makes the squad and
Mhm.
is able to kind of prove himself. I think he's a great athlete, and I remember watching him in his high school days. I don't know if you're old enough for this, but there was a show I think it was actually on MTV, and it was
Really?
about a school down in Alabama, and they were killing it. And they actually went and played Nice High School in Florida, where Tebow played, and he was this big time quarterback, and wound up beating this school in Alabama, who was like the number one school, Hoover High School at the time, and Tebow beat him. And then I just progressively watched him from that show and at Nice all the way through, and then to the NFL and beyond now. But he's just a freak. It's crazy to see everything that he can do. And yeah, I hope he gets a shot. That'd be great. Great to see, fun to watch, and hopefully that Jaguars team can kind of get it together there under Urban. So
It would be cool to
you
see
know,
them be a good team. Just it would be pretty cool.
yeah,
With,
oh
with
for sure. I
Lawrence
think
and
he'll get them together in some fashion and get a couple wins under his belt. And they got a fun QB bunch there with Trevor Lawrence and Minshew, and
yeah.
it'll be fun to watch how they progress through preseason and into the regular season. So it'll be that obviously, now being a college coach, I'll definitely catch some more NFL games in the office. But
Right.
it'll be it should be a fun little scene there.
Coach, I appreciate you coming on. One question we do always ask any former athlete, or coach that comes on. So I'm curious how this one will be for you. It's you got time for 3 songs before a game. In your headphones, what are you listening to? No, has it changed? My question is, has it changed for you as a player to a coach? And if so, like what was the big difference for you?
I would say some of the songs still hit the same. Some of them
Right.
hit a little bit different now. Um, if you asked me this question, I would probably say 2 of the 3 would be the same, and those would be Eminem, "Lose Yourself."
Mhm.
I don't listen to it now because I know what kind of zone it'll get me into and what kind of mood. So I try to
Right.
shy away from that right now until I really need it. Um, and then right above it, Lil Wayne and Drake is a classic, and that one just right. When I get on the football field, it brings back those great memories of a player and those Friday night lights and everything like that. Um, and as I've gotten older, something about, I don't know if it's my Jersey side in me, but some of those little house music and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Anything with a nice bass, it just kind of gets the blood pumping a little bit more. I've also started getting back into a little bit more rock. I would say if I had to pick a third song, I'd probably say Hell's Bells.
A great one. Yeah.
My guys at Stonehill would really love that one. On a nice Saturday morning practice, just jamming that. I was in charge of music, so
Okay.
start jamming that up on the speakers, slowly chiming that in. Nothing quite gets you going like that. So I guess those final 3 would be Lose Yourself, right above it, and then a little Hell's Bells.
That's awesome. I love that, coach. I appreciate you coming on. Possibly after the season, get you back on, talk about that and how your first year at Cortland went.
Yeah, for sure. I love to do that. And like we said at the beginning, this is a great part of the relationship where I could get to get
Yep.
on and be on the podcast and share my view and be able to have the listeners kind of see what a little peek behind the curtain of being a college football coach. So I appreciate you having me on, Andrew, and look forward to talking after the season.
Definitely. And thank you for listening to this episode of the My Parents Office podcast. Stay tuned for more episodes we're going to be releasing. Thank you.